Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers, sisters, and respected Sheikh. Tonight we celebrate and commemorate the birth date of our ninth Imam, Imam Al-Jawad. So we'll begin our program with a recitation of the Holy Quran by Brother Jafar Rojaib. Please welcome him with a loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والشمس وضحاها والقمر إذا تلاها والنهار إذا جلاها والليل إذا يغشاها والسماء وما بناها والأرض وما طحاها ونفس وما سواها فألهمها فجورها وتقواها قد أفلح من زكاها وقد خاب من دساها كذبت ثمود بطغواها إذ انبعث أشقاها فقال لهم رسول الله ناقة الله وسقياها فكذبوه فعقروها فدمدم عليهم ربهم بذنبهم فسواها ولا يخاف عقباها صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Thank you for that beautiful recitation, Brother Jafar. So we'll move on now. We'll invite our respected Sheikh, Sheikh Khalid. Sheikh, how are you?
Assalamu alaikum. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Wa alaikum assalam. Yeah, doing good. So, yeah, if you don't mind, we'll just start to just get to know you and ask if you don't mind just giving us a bit about yourself. Yeah, go for it.
Absolutely. So, as most of you know, my name is Khalid Jamil. I was born in Basra, Iraq. At the age of 10, the age of 9, 10, I moved to Canada, to Vancouver. Grew up in Vancouver till the age of 33, 34, give or take. Since then, I've been back over here to Najaf, where I study and reside in Najaf. In Vancouver, I lived there, I studied there, I grew up there. It's my hometown. I grew up mainly in Burnaby Heights. What else can I say? I'm a power engineer by trade and a sheikh by choice, I guess. I don't know what else to call it. Alhamdulillah, I've been blessed enough to be accepted in Najaf, to be studying in Najaf, to study the knowledge of Ahlul Bayt salawatullahi wa salamu alayhim ajma'in.
Alhamdulillah, nice. Yeah, sounds good. And so how are the Hausa studies there? Tough
Beautiful.
or nice? Beautiful, nice.
They're definitely tough. I mean, I can't kid myself and say they're not tough. But when you enjoy something, it makes it a lot easier, makes it a lot more fun. Every day right now because of Corona, our studies have been mainly online. However, normally you would study in the shrine of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, in the schools and in the mosques surrounding the Imam. It has a specific spirituality that is unparalleled, to be frank. There's nothing like it. Every morning you start by doing ziyarah of Amir al-Mu'mineen and you finish by doing ziyarah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, and then you carry on with the rest of your life.
Nice. Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah. So I'd like to continue the tradition by Brother Muhammad Al-Samak. We'll ask some questions. The first few I'll just ask more general. So as you said, speaking of COVID, I think a lot of people nowadays are, especially because it's been almost a year of COVID now. So how do you have any advice on, continuing, not getting lazy or continuing keeping our mental health in check, for example? And how are you spending your time in COVID and dealing with the quarantine situation?
In Iraq is a little bit different than it is in the States or in Canada in general, in the West. In Iraq, right now we're in total lockdown, so I can't leave, other than the neighborhood that I live in. So other than getting the essentials that I need, I can't go out anywhere else. However, I think the believers, alhamdulillah, inshallah, we're all believers, tend to have a better time with dealing with stuff like this, as difficult as it may be. As we say in Arabic, you put your eye in the eye of Allah. You look forward to whatever Allah has blessed us with. And some would say, what kind of blessing is COVID-19? Everything that comes from Allah is a blessing, whether we realize it or not, whether we recognize it or not. In fact, Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, he says, if for 3 days you're untested, so if you don't have a problem, if you don't have something that you have been tested with for 3 days, then test yourself, then refer to yourself, repent, reflect within yourself, because you and Allah are not on good terms. Allah in the Quran says, أَحَسِبَ النَّاسَ أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ. Is it that people think that they will be left to say that they are believers without being tested? So everything we come across is a test. And the best thing to do in a test is to prepare and to ensure that you pass through that test. When it comes to the test of illness, the Prophet ﷺ, when he was asked about pandemics, he says that if there is a pandemic, then you should stay where you are. If the pandemic comes to your country or to your place of where you live, then do not leave that place. And if the pandemic is outside of where you are, then do not go to that place. And we see our scholars, our respected scholars, they all urge us to follow the outlines that are given by the healthcare workers, by the healthcare centers, by those in the know-how, by those who specialize in this field. As for me, honestly, the best way that we can deal with it is according to Allah's quote. The Quran quotes. Allah says in the Quran, "Wasta'inu bis-sabri was-salat," and seek patience and seek assistance through patience, perseverance, and prayers. That is the way of a believer. Whenever you feel down, whenever you feel like you have, the weight of the world on your shoulder, on your chest, so to speak, that is the way that we seek. We seek patience and perseverance through our prayers, or we seek perseverance through our patience and our prayers.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, that's really beautiful and great advice. Thank you so much for that. That's really heartwarming and lots of information there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'd like to also ask then, which, if you don't mind, hopefully it doesn't take you too long, but who would you say is an inspiration in your life?
When we're saying inspiration, our inspiration should be always to the better. So one would say their inspiration is Michael Jordan or Mike Tyson or a famous individual. However, one of our scholars, his grandfather was a mujtahid, an ayatollah. And he said to his grandfather, he says, "Oh, my grandfather, I want to be like you." His grandfather answered him in a very direct and harsh manner. He says, "If you want to be like me, you will never be like me. You will never reach the status. However, when I was your age, I wanted to be like Ja'far al-Sadiq, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. That is why I reached the status." When we look, depending on your age and how old you are and who you are, our role models should be those that drive us to be better, not monetarily, should drive us to be better as individuals within our community. At the end of the day, we are social creatures. So therefore, the individuals we choose should be individuals that drive us to be better as individuals, as human beings. As for me, if you want to ask me who's my inspiration, who is my motivation, who is my role model, I would like to say Imam Hussein. And I said I would like to say Imam Hussein because I don't think I can reach that. However, since I was a child until now, there's a connection between me, or at least from my end, to Imam Hussein. And that is who I aspire to be like, or who I would love to be like. And as a Sheikh al-Wa'ili says, he says in his poem in Arabic, the gist of it, he says, there is no comparison between clay and the fruit on top of a tree. Imam Hussein is the fruit on top of a tree, and I am clay. So the clay can never aspire to be a fruit. However, it doesn't change the fact that I dream to aspire to that height.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really nice. I like the way you put that. I never thought about that. So what you're saying is, because most people, when we think about role models, we think about being like them, but rather use them to better ourselves. So rather than try to become them, just use them as a platform to better
Well,
ourselves.
you'll never become
Right?
them. You'll always be
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
right? And that's something that we have to realize, brothers and sisters. You will always be you. There is never going to be another you. It's just you. However, you can aspire to be like someone of that elevation by taking on everything you can from someone of that elevation, you know? And again, I say someone in that elevation, not a basketball player or a singer or a rapper and so on and so forth, because those individuals have metaphorical or have monetary elevation. At the end of the day, all of that will be left behind.
Mm-hmm. That's a really nice way to put it. Yeah, thank you, Sheikh. So yeah, so now we'll get to less like serious, really, deep thinking questions, and we'll kind of have like a fast round.
More lighthearted stuff, huh?
More lighthearted. Thank you. Yeah. So first one, okay. If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go?
Listen, man, I'm an old guy. I'm 37, but I feel like I'm 80. If I could travel anywhere in the world, if you would have asked me that question 5 years ago, my answer would have been to Najaf.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I'm in Najaf, if you ask me where would I travel to, I would say I want to do Hajj. That's on my bucket list that I want to do. I want to visit Al Medina Al Munawwara. Other than that, I already live in heaven, so I'm fine.
Nice, well put. Yeah, I was thinking of I think they recently landed on Mars. They sent like the Mars rover. So, yeah, I'm sure maybe some people would want to a little side note visit Mars. But yeah, definitely,
You know what?
inshallah,
You know what?
yeah.
For me, Ali ibn Abi Talib is right here. There's nothing for me on Mars. Ali ibn Abi
Yeah,
Talib is here.
definitely nice. Okay, so now we'll go to just one or another. Okay, so
Yeah,
iPhone or Samsung?
Samsung all the way.
Samsung, nice. All right. Xbox or PlayStation?
Oh, PlayStation 4. Or PlayStation General. It's got way more exclusive games. And
Yes,
it's got the
yeah,
best games, man.
that's true. Yeah, yeah. I think there's hype on Halo for the Xbox, but definitely more exclusives on
Yeah, that's
PlayStation.
one game. That's
Yeah.
one game.
Oh, yeah. All right. So Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan?
Michael Jordan, hands down, bar none.
Nice. All right. So if you know about these ones, Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter?
Lord of the Rings, man. Harry Potter
Nice.
is for children. When I was growing up, Harry Potter was for children. Now the children that watch Harry Potter are grown men and grown women. But when I was growing up, it was for kids.
Nice. Yeah. Alhamdulillah. That's good. Yeah. I know the Lord of the Rings book is it's pretty big too. And there's quite a bit in the
I
series.
didn't read Lord of the Rings books. I watched the
Oh, the
movies. I didn't
movies.
have time
Yeah,
to
the
waste on the
movies.
book.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet or savory?
Oh, savory.
Savory.
Unless it's butter chicken. Unless it's butter chicken, then it's sweet and savory.
Hmm. Nice.
By the way,
Okay.
that's the only thing I miss. I miss butter chicken. I miss decent butter chicken in Najaf. So if anybody knows how to make butter chicken, quickly send me the recipe so I can make it from scratch over here.
Yeah. Inshallah, we can. I'll see if I can find a video and you can uh, walk through making butter chicken then for you.
Inshallah, inshallah.
Inshallah. All right. So laundry or dishes?
Neither.
Neither. Yeah. Yeah. I remember in the old days we used to like scrub them, but now it's just putting all dishes in we just have machines. And same with laundry, you'd like
I live in Iraq, and in Iraq we have to wash everything. So
oh
I think if I had a choice, I would do the dishes. I'd much rather do the dishes than laundry.
nice. Alhamdulillah. Okay, and food now. So keema or sabzi?
It depends on which qima. If it's the
Oh,
Persian qima, the Iranian qima, then yes. If it's the Najaf qima, then I go for shabzi.
And okay, coffee, hot chocolate, or chai?
Indian chai or Arabic chai?
Oh, this either or. Any chai could
No.
be both.
If it's Arabic tea, then I'll go for Iraqi tea, Iraqi Basrawi tea. Okay. Other than that, then I'd go for coffee. A decent Tim Hortons double would do it.
Yeah, nice. Alhamdulillah. Okay, chocolate or vanilla?
Neither.
Or strawberry?
Strawberry.
And
Oh yeah, a decent
yeah.
strawberry ice cream cone from McDonald's or a strawberry sundae from McDonald's, that do it.
Alhamdulillah. And cola or Sprite?
Cola.
Cola, nice. Yeah. And then this is a funny one. Pepsi or 7-Up?
Oh, Pepsi.
Pepsi, yeah.
Cola, Sprite, Pepsi, or 7-Up.
Yeah, it's like the same thing, yeah. Okay, steak or chicken?
Steak.
Nice. And just a couple on
You're making me
socializing.
hungry, dude. You're making me
Oh
hungry.
yeah, sorry. And Instagram or Twitter?
To be honest, I barely know how to use either. I'm gonna say Facebook.
Yeah, I barely look at I know there's too many social medias nowadays to look at, I'd say. That's my opinion, of course. And
I agree.
last one.
I think we should put them all in one and just that's it.
Yeah. And okay, texting, this will be the last one. Texting friends or calling friends?
Calling, man. Texting is so impersonal. Texting is so impersonal. I'd much rather call. That's why if you ask anybody that knows me, when they text me, I usually ask them to call them or I just call them right away. I just don't like texting. I feel it's very impersonal.
Definitely. Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much for answering the questions.
Absolutely.
So we'll move on now, and whenever you're ready, you can begin the lecture on the life of Imam Al-Jawad.
Inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim wa afdalu as-salati wa tammu at-taslim ala nabiyyina as-sadiq al-amin Muhammad wa ala alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. In the name of God, the merciful, the beneficent, all prayer and praise is due to the Prophet Muhammad and his holy household. Sayyidina, if I could have you turn on your mic and your camera so we can have a dialogue.
Sure, yeah.
This is not a lecture, this is a dialogue, this is a discussion, inshallah.
Okay, definitely.
We will begin with a quote from our Imam Ali ibn Musa al-Rida, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. He says, this newborn who had just been born, he is the greatest barakah, the greatest blessing upon the Shia. Now, this is a very bold claim, and this is a very big claim. Imam salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, Imam Al-Rida, the father of Imam Al-Jawad, he says that this newborn is the greatest blessing upon Shi'atina. One would say, why such a bold claim? Why such a strong claim? The Imam is one of 14 Imams. Why is he considered, his birth is considered such a blessing? First and foremost, we need to realize a few things, Sayyidina. Imam Ali ibn Musa al-Rida was in his late 40s when Imam Al-Jawad was born. During that time, the Imam only had daughters. So the people started wondering. The people started thinking, basically started thinking of the legitimacy of the Imam. The enemies of Ahlul Bayt started reinforcing that idea. Therefore, when Imam Al-Jawad was born, Imam Al-Jawad salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi broke that concern that they had, the concern that people had. Adding to the fact, Imam Al-Jawad, when he received the imamate, when he became the imam of the ummah, he was 8 years old. Very, very young age. In fact, he is the first, I don't want to say child because that has a demeaning concept, but nonetheless, he was the first individual of that age to become an imam, to be the imam of the nation. Now that holds significance. One of our scholars, he says that the lives or the roles of imamate, of the 12 imams, can be divided into 3 different divisions. The first division is the first 4 imams. Amir al-Mu'mineen, al-Hasan, al-Hussein, and Ali Zayd al-Abidin, alayhi salatu wassalamu ala aba'i. Their job, their role was to protect Islam, to protect Islam in all its forms, to ensure that the word of the Prophet Muhammad and the word of Allah is not lost. Mm-hmm. Then the second role comes, the next 4 imams, which is Muhammad al-Baqir, Ja'far al-Sadiq, Musa al-Kadhim, and Ali al-Rida, alayhim salatu wassalam. And their role was to spread the knowledge of Islam. Then the last 4 being Muhammad al-Jawad, Ali al-Hadi, al-Hasan al-Askari, wal-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan al-Mahdi, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhim. Their job was to prepare the ummah for the ghaybat al-kubra. To prepare the ummah for the fact that the imam would go through a ghayba, through a disappearance for such a long time. And we see this starts with Imam Al-Jawad, salamullahi alayhi. Not only that, their role became less and less direct with the Shia and more indirect with the Shia. As in to prepare the nation, to prepare the people for the ghaiba of the Imam. Prior to Imam Muhammad Al-Jawad, and really it started with Imam Al-Hadi, but prior to him, people had direct contact to the Imam. Direct contact with the Imam. You could go to the Imam, you can ask the Imam, you can question the Imam. From the time of Imam Al-Rida until the time of Al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan alayhi, it became gradually, they started fading from the public eye. Not because they chose to, but because of the stresses that was placed on the Ahlul Bayt. Now, before we delve into this concept, let's take a couple of snippets from the life of the Imam. First and foremost, the Imam was born in the year 195 Hijri. The Imam sallallahu wasallam alayhi became the Imam in the year 2003, in the year 203 Hijri. So at the age of 8, he became the Imam. He died, salawatullah wasallam alayhi, at the year 220 Hijri, making him 25 years old. His whole life, his whole lifespan was 25 years old. However, within that lifespan, he was able to establish a lot of points, and he was able to direct the nation, the Islamic nation, into multiple ways, and in multiple ways into the proper way that is. Mm-hmm. Effectively, we can divide the life of the Imam into 3 divisions. The first being the 7 or 8 years he was with his father, and we'll have to describe what that life was like. Then the next 15 years, which is after the passing of his father, the martyrdom of Imam Al-Rida, during the time of Al-Ma'mun Al-Abbasi, the emperor. And I will cover as to why I call him an emperor and not a Khalifa or an Emir. And then the last 2 years, during the time of Al-Mu'tasim Al-Abbasi. Are you with me, Sayyidina?
Yeah.
So, first and foremost, we have to look at the political status of the timeline, of the Imam's timeline.
Right.
Al-Abbasis are direct descendants of Al-Abbas ibn Abd al-Muttalib, who was the uncle of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi. Al-Abbas was a brother to Abu Talib, the father of Amir al-Mu'mineen, and a brother to Abdullah, the father of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi. His descendants became known as the Abbasids. After the death of the Prophet and after the passing, the martyrdom of Amir al-Mu'mineen and Imam al-Hasan, the son of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Bani Umayyah took the power. When they took power, when they usurped the throne, they sought to legitimize their throne. And as is the case with every king and every kingdom, when they come, they have to legitimize their throne. You know what I mean by legitimizing it, Sayyid?
Right, like you said, it's usurp, so you can't. They like overthrew it, right? So legitimize
By force.
Right.
And while taking it by force, they have to make it legitimate. So the people have to view them as the legitimate ruler. The Muawiyah, what he did is he says that during the time of Ali ibn Abi Talib, the nation did not gather around Ali ibn Abi Talib, which was a false accusation, a false claim, let's say. And that him, during his time, the people gathered around him. That's why they call it the time of Jama'ah, the time of the grouping, the time where everybody came together. And that is what he put forth as a form of legitimacy for his claim. After him, they sought legitimacy simply by destroying anybody that stood in their way, starting with Imam Hussein salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. Muawiyah killed Imam al-Hasan. Now, in some narrations, they lean towards that he was behind the role of the poisoning of Imam Hassan, which was accurate. After poisoning Imam al-Hasan, alayhi salam, Muawiyah no longer needed to legitimize it. So what he did is he says that the people were divided, and now we are grouped together. After him, when Yazid took power, Yazid had no claim to the throne. So in order for him to ensure that he remains on the throne, he killed anybody that stood in his way, starting with Imam al-Hussein alayhi salatu wassalam. After that, Bani Umayyah continued that trend until the time of the Abbasids. The Abbasids, when they came into power, their claim to the throne was to seek retribution and revenge for the Ahlul Bayt. That Bani Umayyah were usurpers and they were not supposed to sit on the throne, and that Banu Hashim were the rightful heirs. However, when they came into power, they faced the same struggle as Banu Umayyah, which is what? Which is that they had no legitimacy to the throne. Hence, they began, again, just like Banu Umayyah, by killing the Ahlul Bayt and their followers. Now, the Abbasids were even harsher and worse towards the Ahlul Bayt and the Shia of Ahlul Bayt than Bani Umayyah. That's why we see in one of the Shia poets, he says, يا ليت ظلم بني مروان عاد لنا وعدل بني العباس في النار. Oh, how I wish that the injustice of Banu Marwan would return to us, and that this so-called justice of Bani Abbas would go to hell. Why? Because they were persecuted unlike before. Now, this leads us to Harun al-Rashid. Harun al-Rashid was known to be bloodthirsty. not only bloodthirsty, we know full well that he poisoned Imam Al-Rida alayhi salatu wasalam. Sorry, that he poisoned Imam Al-Kadhim alayhi salam. Harun al-Rashid had three sons that are worthy of being mentioned. The first and his oldest was a man by the name Al-Ma'mun, who was born to a concubine or to a slave lady. Then Al-Amin, who was born to a noble woman, and Al-Mu'tasim. After the death of Harun, Al-Ma'mun and Al-Amin went to war. We'll put Al-Mu'tasim aside. He took a backseat for a while. When we look into the personalities of Al-Amin and Al-Ma'mun, Al-Amin, for all intents and purposes, was no different than any of the monarchs that we see today, or any of the rich, spoiled kids that we see today. You know, he was the son of the emperor. He liked gold. He liked jewelry. He liked to indulge himself in everything. He had no discerning qualities to be a ruler. As for Al-Ma'mun was known to be a general in the army. He was known to be a very highly intellectual and intelligent individual. And he surrounded himself with philosophers and thinkers. Al-Ma'mun and Al-Amin went to war. Al-Ma'mun was in Khurasan, modern-day Iran. Al-Amin was in Baghdad, in Iraq. They went to war until the Amin was killed. Al-Ma'mun killed the Amin and hung his head in front of his castle for 3 days, they say. Nonetheless, during that time, during this turmoil and tribulations, there were small fringe movements to try to overthrow the government, because there was a power vacuum and a power struggle. From amongst those were small Shia movements. I'm going to be frank here. The problem with the Shia is that they don't seem to be afraid of dying for what they believe in. They seem to be putting themselves in the path of death when it comes to their belief system. And that presents a problem for the rulers, because there's no claim to legitimacy from any ruler other than that of Ahlul Bayt, according to the Shia ideology. They have the right claim. Nobody else has a proper claim, especially in that time, you know, in the time of, in our days, and the days of democracy, you know, that's no longer the issue. But in that time, where the rulers claimed to be the direct or given direct rule from Allah and the Prophet Muhammad, but they had no legitimacy to it. Hence, Al-Ma'mun devised a plan to silence the Shia and to silence his critics and to strengthen his position. How? By bringing Ali ibn Musa al-Rida salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, the eighth Imam. When he brought the eighth Imam, the first thing he did is he showed love and admiration to the Imam publicly. He put on a show for the people. He put on that show for the people as in to say, my legitimacy to the throne is the fact that the Imam is my crowned prince. Crowned prince meaning that if I die, he becomes the ruler. The Imam salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, of course, accepted this under threat of death. But when he accepted this, he said that I will accept under the condition that I am not involved in any political affair, period. So he is literally there just for showing. Now, one would ask, why not? Why wouldn't the Imam involve himself? Why wouldn't the Imam do what he can for the Ummah if he's in that position? They narrate that Al-Ma'mun said to Imam Al-Rida salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, and while this isn't a lecture about Imam Al-Rida, we need to understand the situation of Imam Al-Rida in order for us to understand the situation of Imam Al-Jawad. Al-Ma'mun came to Imam Al-Rida and he said to Imam Al-Rida, he said, you are to become the new Khalifa. You are to become the new emperor, the new king. The Imam looked at him and he says, Ya Ma'mun, has this been bestowed upon you by Allah or not? If you say this has been bestowed on you by Allah, then you have no right to give it to me. And if it has not been bestowed on you by Allah, if you have usurped this throne, then you have no right to give that which does not belong to you. Really put him in a predicament. You know what I mean? He put him in a predicament. If this is ordained by Allah, then you don't have the right to give it away. If it's not ordained by Allah, then you've taken it by force, and you have no right to give away what doesn't belong to you. At which Al-Ma'mun, he said, then you are to become the crown prince. They say that the Imam refused, but the Al-Ma'mun threatened him with death, and the death of his kin, of course. So the Imam had to accept. Al-Ma'mun put on that beautiful face, the face that he loved the Imam. However, he was still threatened by the Imam because the people started gathering around the Imam. But they narrate that when Imam Ali ibn Musa Rida passed away, when he died, that Khurasan and Tus is the name of the city, which is now called Mashhad. At that time, it was called Tus. That's why we call him Gharib Tus, he who was estranged in Tus. Mm-hmm. They say that Tus became or uproared with the cries and the wails of the mourners for the Imam Ali ibn Musa. After the passing of the Imam came the role of Imam Al-Jawad. We said at the age of 8 years old. Al-Ma'mun sought to continue his legitimacy through the Imam Al-Jawad. How? He cannot name an 8-year-old a crown prince at this point. So he sought to do so by marrying off his daughter, al-Fadl, to Imam Al-Jawad. When he decided to do that, the Abbasids gathered around Al-Ma'mun and they uproared against Al-Ma'mun, telling him, what you are doing, you will fall into the same issue that you fell into with Ali ibn Musa Rida. The people will eventually revolt against you because you are not, I don't know if they would have said it that way, but the gist of it is, you are not as fit as Ali ibn Musa Rida. You were not. And you know full well that these are the descendants of the prophets. Not only that, what are you doing marrying your daughter to someone who was not tested? We have not tested him. We don't know if he's going to be knowledgeable. We don't know if he's going to be intelligent. We don't know if he knows the religion as he should. We do not know his characteristics. Therefore, allow him time. Excuse me. Therefore, if you want to carry on, excuse me 1 second, Sayyidina.
No problem. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Therefore, if you want to carry on with this claim, give him time, let him age, so that he might ripen. They say Al-Ma'mun looked at them and he said to them, do you doubt the descendancy of the Prophet? I urge you to bring forth your best scholars and to test him, if so you claim. If he is proven right, then we carry on. If he is proven wrong, then what you want is what you want is fulfilled. They say that they gathered together. Now, of course, I moved on to the second point here, which is after the passing of Imam Al-Rida. They say that they gathered and they brought an individual by the name of Yahya ibn Aktham. Yahya ibn Aktham was the highest authority in the kingdom, the highest religious authority in the kingdom to the crown. He was literally called the judge of judges. Meaning what? Meaning that he presided over the judges. If the judges had an issue, they would refer to him. They told him, Yahya, we have questions, or we want to present a question to this lad, to where we would shake him, to where we would shake the ground from under him. They say Yahya ibn Aktham took 3 weeks to gather a question. Imagine today we would say that the grandest scholar, the scholar of all scholars, would take off 3 weeks just to come up with one question for a 9-year-old boy. Now, of course, he wasn't just a 9-year-old boy. He was a 9-year-old descendant of the Prophet Muhammad. He was a 9-year-old who carried the knowledge of the Prophet Muhammad. He was a 9-year-old who carried the knowledge of the Quran. He was a 9-year-old who was equal to the word of Allah, who was an equal to the Quran, who was the spoken word of Allah. And I said this before, and I always say this. The Prophet says, "Inni tarikum fikum ath-thaqalayn," I have left within you the 2 weights. Kitabullah wa itrati ahl bayti, the book of Allah and my offspring, my family, my household, and that they shall not separate until they come to me on Judgment Day. Now, can 2 things make one? Can one thing be made of 2 parts? Absolutely. You know, and I always use this. I have here water. Water is made of what, Sayyidina? What are the water
Hydrogen, oxygen, H2O.
H2O. Sayyidina, if we separate the hydrogen from the oxygen, do we have water anymore?
No, I don't think
What if we add another oxygen molecule to the hydrogen? Is it still water?
No, I don't think so either, no.
This is where Brother Jawad would chime in. Brother Jawad, what would happen if we add another molecule to the water? Well, I think Brother Jawad went on to YouTube. Nonetheless,
Okay, no problem.
it would no longer be this quenching liquid that we refer to as water, such as the case with Islam. If we were to take the Quran separated from the Ahlul Bayt, it's no longer proper Islam. And if we were to take Ahlul Bayt separated from the Quran, we no longer have Islam. Islam is comprised of 2 things. Kitabullah wa itrati ahl bayti. You want to understand the Quran? Go to the Ahlul Bayt. And the Quran says, ask the people of the people of knowledge, the people who have the know-how, Ahlul Dhikr, if you do not know. Therefore, they both compromise and make up the religion of Islam. And we will come to this at the end of the lecture, inshallah, with a couple of, or with an example. So Yahya ibn Aktham mustered up all of his knowledge, and he came up with one question. For 3 weeks, he was able to come up with how many questions? One question. What was that question? Yahya ibn Aktham asks the Imam. They say that Harun called upon a public gathering. He called upon a public gathering so that everybody can attend. Now, of course, you can imagine when the president, when the king calls upon a public gathering, everything you want will be present in order to attract everyone. And the star of this public gathering was Muhammad Al-Jawad, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. They say Imam Al-Jawad at that time was 9 and a few months old. Of course, the king is present, so they put a pedestal for him. And next to him, they put a pedestal just as high for the Imam. Now, the Imam was 9 years old. They say that when he entered the gathering, he took people's breaths away. He sat on the pedestal, and Yahya ibn Aktham came and said to Al-Ma'mun, the emperor. He says, Ya Amir, O prince, O king, do you permit me to ask Aba Ja'far? Aba Ja'far was the name that was given to the Imam, the father of Ja'far, a question. They say Ma'mun became visibly upset with this request. And he said, the question is for him, not for me. Therefore, you are to request permission from him, not from me. We see this in the tone of Yahya ibn Aktham. He turns to the Imam and he says, may I be sacrificed in your stead? May I ask you a question? The Imam looks at him and he says, Sal and shit. If you want to ask, go ahead and ask what you wish. Aw sal ma shit. Then he said to him, I ask you, what is the law, what is the ruling regarding a mahram who hunts or who hunted? A mahram is an individual that has worn the ihram in order to do hajj, in order to do pilgrimage. The Imam looked at him and he said to him, so what is the question? The question is, what is the ruling regarding a mahram who hunted, okay? A mahram who hunted, who had killed a hunt. The Imam looks at him and he says, did he kill this hunt, this prey, during hil or haram? Was he wearing the ihram or was he not? Did he know? عالماً كان المحرم أو جاهلاً. Did he know that he was going to kill it, or was it a mistake? Or was he ignorant of it? Did he do it on purpose, or did he do it by accident? Was he a slave, or was he a free man? Was he young, or was he old? Young or old meaning, was he before the age of obligation or after? Was he baligh or non-baligh? Was this his first time? Was he just starting to learn how to hunt, or was he a hunter? Was the prey a prey of flight or not? So was it a bird or not? Was it large or was it small? Did he do it on purpose? Or sorry, when he did it, did he feel regret or not? So was he regretful for his action or not? Was it during the day or was it during the night? Was this muhrim, was he doing Hajj or was it just simply Umrah? They say Yahya ibn Akhtam stood in shock and he said to him, Yabna Rasulillah, I have nothing but one answer for this one question. You're asking me all these questions. I only have one question and one answer for this one question. They say at that point, Al-Ma'mun, obviously his point was made. He made it very clear that the Imam is in the rightful place. However, this caused a major problem for the Imam. Not just this, a lot of these caused a lot of situations during the Imam's life caused a problem. And these problems rose out of jealousy, rose out of hate, rose out of animosity for the Ahlul Bayt. Continuing, Al-Imam salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi continued his life for the next 15 years under the direct observation of Al-Ma'mun. Not only under the direct observation of Al-Ma'mun, but adding to that, under the hateful eye of those who wanted nothing else but to see him killed. Again, on the one hand, we had the people in power who wanted legitimacy for their throne. So they would either kill or favor the Imam in order to provide. And on the other hand, we had those individuals who had envy and hatred for the Ahlul Bayt. And those individuals were even harsher towards the Ahlul Bayt. During the life of Harun, the Imam enjoyed a certain type of freedom that was not met after him. Remember, we said that Harun wanted to seek legitimacy through the Imam. When he wed him his daughter was a very jealous and conniving individual. And she would constantly be upset with the Imam because the Imam had another wife. In fact, they say that the Imam that she sent a letter to her father, Al-Ma'mun, saying to him, how is it that you can allow your daughter to be married or to be married over so that the Imam has another wife? How could it that you allow this? And Ma'mun answered her by saying, we did not wed you to Abu Ja'far, to Aba Ja'far, in order to restrict him from doing what is halal or to force him into doing what is haram. She had a lot of animosity. And that animosity came from the life that she lived and those that she was surrounded by. However, when we see the Imam, when he would treat her, brothers and sisters, like we said earlier, when we want to seek role models, those are the individuals that we see. They say that even after she poisoned the Imam did not yell at her. Rather, he looked at her and he says, what have you done? Why did you do such an act? She, out of anger and fear and regret, if there was regret, locked the Imam in the house and ran away, leaving him there. During the last 2 years of the Imam's life, salawatullahi wa alayhi, was the time of Al-Mu'tasim. Remember we said Harun had 3 brothers, had 3 sons, Al-Ma'mun, Al-Amin, and Al-Mu'tasim. Al-Ma'mun killed Al-Amin. Al-Mu'tasim was far away from, he backed out. He bowed out, so to speak. After the death of Ma'mun, the way that the Abbasid had it is that each brother rules. So it wasn't from father to son, it was from brother to brother. Al-Mu'tasim came. When Al-Mu'tasim came, Al-Mu'tasim is described in history as a weak individual, not having self-confidence, having weak self-esteem, low self-esteem, being two-faced, being, worried of the people around him, afraid for the power that he received, afraid for the throne that he has, afraid of the eyes that are upon him. He was easily moved. He was easily pushed around. He was easily manipulated. On the other hand, you had Imam Al-Jawad, salawatullahi wa salam alayhi, who had all the charisma in the world, who had a beauty that would render the individual breathless, who had knowledge that is unsurpassed and unparalleled. So there's obviously constant animosity, constant hatred towards the Imam from Al-Mu'tasim. Hence that Al-Mu'tasim called for the Imam to be returned to Baghdad. The Imam was in Medina. Al-Mu'tasim, when he became the emperor, he called for the Imam. Of course, when he called for the Imam, the first thing he did is he placed him in an unsavory neighborhood to try to break the Imam's will. Nonetheless, they say that every now and then the Imam, he would bring the Imam in. Sometimes he would imprison him. Other times he would set him free, but he would not leave him comfortable. He was under constant observation and constant pressure for the 2 years that he lived, spending time in and out of prison. They say that one time the Imam, Al-Mu'tasim called upon the Imam because there was a question that the jurists were debating. They say that an individual who had stolen and admitted to his crime and admitted to the laws and rules of that crime, and they wanted to pass the punishment of cutting the hand off of that individual. Just a side note, by the way, in Islam, when we say cutting the hand off, it's not just any thief. It's reserved to those individuals. First of all, they have to be a third-time offender. Second thing is that they have to be not in need, so a rich individual. So a lot of the individuals that we see that are stealing us, that are robbing the country's blind, those kind of individuals that do not have need. An individual that actually has need and steals, that's not considered theft. It is then upon the ruler and upon the kingdom or the governing body to provide for this individual. Therefore, it's not a sin upon him as an individual. It is a sin upon the community, upon the ruling body. Nonetheless, this individual put himself up for the law, saying, I feel guilt. I want to be punished. Anyway, in اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد.
على محمد وعلى محمد صلوا على محمد وعلى محمد اللهم صل على
I don't know what's going on. I got a frog in my throat today.
No
Nonetheless,
problem. No problem. Yeah.
So the jurists are gathered. Amongst the jurists was an individual who could not, who hated the Imam, who had unbelievable animosity towards the Imam. I can't recall his name right now.
Mhm.
So the question came. The question was, where, at what point do we cut the hand off? Some jurists, they said, you cut the hand off from the wrist. Other jurists, they said, you cut the hand off from the elbow. And each one had their own claim to that. The first, when they were asked, why do you cut the hand from the wrist? They said, because the Quran says, فَامْسَحُوا بِوُجُوهِكُمْ وَأَيْدِيكُمْ, and wipe with your hand, wipe your face with your hand, and you wipe with your whole hand. Therefore, this is the hand, and you cut from the wrist. The other group, they said, no, you cut it from the mirfaq, from the elbow. Why? They said, وَغْسُلُوا أَيْدِيكُمْ إِلَى الْمَرَافِقِ, up to the elbows, wash your hands up to the elbows. And the word here is used, أَيْدِيكُمْ, your hand. All of this, and the Imam is quiet. Al-Mu'tasim turned to the Imam. He said, we've heard what everybody has said, except for you. Now, when Al-Mu'tasim asks the Imam, it's because the Imam is the highest of individual of knowledge, as the individual with the most knowledge, and everybody knows that. This isn't a secret. This isn't something in doubt. When the Imam is sitting, everybody knows who has more knowledge amongst them. Therefore, it's out of place when you don't ask the Imam. So Al-Mu'tasim asks the Imam. He said to him, what do you say? The Imam responds and he says, the jurists have spoken. The Mu'tasim responds and he says, but I want to know your opinion. The Imam says, leave me be. Forgive me. Let me not give this opinion. Al-Mu'tasim then says to him, I ask you by the sake of Allah, I swear upon you by Allah to answer me. The Imam says, if you're forcing me, if you're swearing upon Allah, then I shall answer. He says, I say that they have made a mistake and that they have left the Sunnah behind. They have forgotten the Sunnah. Rather, the cutting happens from the fingers. The fingers are removed. And the palm is left. Then they said, well, where did you get that from? He says, the Prophet ﷺ says that the masajid are 7. When you go to do prostration, they are 7. Your forehead, the palms of your hand, your knees, and the tips of your big toes. Those 7. And the Quran says, وَإِنَّ الْمَسَاجِدَ لِلَّهِ. Therefore, when you cut off the wrist, if you remove the wrist or from the elbow, you have removed one of the requirements of sujood. Then he says, وَمَا كَانَ لِلَّهِ لَمْ يُقْطَعْ. And that which is required by Allah should not be cut off. Then they replied. Then they said, again, they continued and they made issues with it and they talked about it. In another narration, they say that the Imam says in a verse of the Quran, those who write the Quran with their hands, or those who write the word of Allah with their hands. However, the writing is done with the tips of the fingers, not with the hands, in association to this, or as an addendum to this riwayah. Everything. Now the Imam here knew that through this would cause him a problem because the individuals that were present had animosity towards him. One of the individuals, he says that this did not sit with me well. So it wasn't but 3 days, and I went to Al-Mu'tasim. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the name. If I can't seem to find it. Nonetheless.
Yeah.
His name is Duad, Ibn Abi Duad. صرت إلى المعتصم بعد 3. His name is Ibn Abi Duad. He says, I came to Al-Mu'tasim after 3 days. And I said to him, it is my obligation to advise you. As one of the jurists in your nation, it is my obligation to advise you. And it is my obligation to advise you, especially if there is a threat towards you. Al-Mu'tasim says, and what is this threat? This man says to him, he says, look, you gathered the largest of the jurists, the grandest of the jurists, and in a public court. And you took all of their advices. You listened to all of their opinions and their point of views. However, you leaned towards the point of view of this young man who everybody in the nation, who the general people in the nation and the revolters are using him and his name to revolt over you. Have you no fear? Do you not fear for your throne? Do you not fear for your crown? The people are using this young man to say that he is better fit than you are. They say Al-Mu'tasim became visibly angry and said, thank you. You have reminded me of things that I must have forgot or overlooked. At that point, he commanded Al-Fadl to poison the Imam. We're not going to go into details of the poisoning of the Imam because this is not a day of mourning. This is a day of remembrance and joyous occasion, inshallah.
Inshallah, yeah.
The point I want to say, brothers and sisters, is within 25 years, let's say not within 20, let's say within 17 years from the age of 8 until the age of 25. The Imam, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, applied everything he had. Now, I see a lot of our brothers and sisters, they have this excuse, which is rather annoying, is I'm too young. Oh, I'm still young. I got time. No, you don't. You don't have time. You don't know when your time ends. Don't worry about tomorrow. Worry about today and let the God of tomorrow carry you over till tomorrow. Do what you can today. Be the way that the Ahlul Bayt were. Aspire to be like the Ahlul Bayt. Aspire to seek betterness of your individual and those around you and the community you live in. Whether it be a Western or an Eastern community, whether it be an Islamic or a non-Islamic community. Your obligation as a Muslim is the betterment of yourself and those around you, regardless of their ethnicity, their religion, their faction, their belief system. We see the Ahlul Bayt, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhim, when somebody came to them, they did not say, this guy is Turkish, this guy is Roman, this guy is white, this guy is black. Rather, we see Imam Hussein treat a black servant the same way he would treat his son, Ali al-Akbar, and bow. He would lay next to them. Imam Al-Jawad, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, treats his siblings and his wives and his sisters and his daughters and his brothers the same way he wants to be treated, the same way an individual ought to be treated. Even after Al-Fadl poisoned the Imam did not yell at her, did not curse her, did not insult her, did not hit her, waliyadu billah. Rather, the Imam questioned her. He says, why would you do this? Why is it that you have done this? This is resembling his grandfather, Al-Kadhim alayhi salam. They say that as he had a servant who was pouring the water for him as he was washing, preparing for salat, as he was doing wudu, ablution. The servant dropped the jar upon the forehead of the Imam or upon the face of the Imam, cutting the Imam. The Imam looked up at her. She said, Yabna Rasulillah, wal kadhimin al-ghayth, and those who suppress their anger. He says, Kadhamtu ghaythi, I have suppressed my anger. She said, Yabna Rasulillah, wal afin an al-nas, and those who forgive the people. He says, I have forgiven you. She says, Yabna Rasulullah, wa inna Allah yuhibbul muhsinin, the gist of the ayah. Azmul ayah, Allah yuhibbul muhsinin. Allah loves those who are generous and who are good. The Imam says, leave, you are free. That is the method of Ahlul Bayt. That is how we should treat each other. Now, I'm not telling you turn the other cheek. I'm not telling you be a doormat to be stepped on by anybody. Stand up for your rights. Don't let your right be taken away. Don't let your voice be removed. Don't let your voice be silenced. However, do not be an oppressor. Do not be an aggressor. Do not be فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ.
Inshallah.
Why? Because we are on the path of Ahlul Bayt salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhim ajma'in. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu ala Muhammad wa alihi tahirin.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Thank you, Sheikh, for that wonderful discussion. Would you be, I'm not sure if we have time for questions, would you be open to take some
Yes, of course, by all means. Fire away.
Sure. So we can ask, I'll open up the YouTube chat shortly if we have some questions here. I did want to ask, actually, something came to my mind. I apologize, I don't know if I missed it, but do we know what the answer was that Imam Al-Jawad said for the question he was asked? Do we know?
Yeah, do you want me to go through it? It's pretty long though, that's the problem.
Oh,
that's why I left it out.
Okay, no problem then. Inshallah, for a future discussion, then we can add
Inshallah,
that.
inshallah.
Quickly check the YouTube here. Okay, and just a heads up for our viewers at home, we will be having a Kahoot later, so you can also get your phones and iPad devices ready as well. So let's see here if there's any questions. So I looks like I don't see any here. Yeah, going once, going twice. I don't see any. I don't know if it might be a glitch, but maybe that's okay then. So inshallah, thank you so much for your time, Sheikh. It was wonderful having you here.
Barakallah fiik. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you. And if you want to join us for the Kahoot, then
inshallah. But if I may, before we leave,
sure.
I just want to say a closing statement. Brothers and sisters, every timeline has had its own Imam. Imam Al-Jawad was during his timeline. They are all our Imams. However, in every timeline, we have an Imam that we should refer to for our problems. The Imam of our time is Imam al-Zaman, and that's why we call him Imam al-Zaman, the Imam of our time. Al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. Brothers and sisters, we need to realize something. We are not the ones that are awaiting for him. He is the one that's waiting for us. If we are waiting for him, he is waiting for us even more. And that is why we say awaiting. That is why we say, Allahumma ajjil li waliyika al-faraj. The faraj means that you are expecting to receive the Imam in your lifetime. You are expecting the appearance in your lifetime, not in the future, in your lifetime. What I want to say, and I want to remind myself first and foremost, before my brothers, is, are we truly prepared and worthy? Are we truly supporters of the Imam? Not by word. Remember, on Judgment Day, the Quran says on that day, every nation will be called by its Imam. Every group will be called by their Imam. However, and on that day, the Quran also says, وَامْتَازُوا الْيَوْمَ أَيُّهَا الْمُجْرِمُونَ. Stand aside, O you who are oppressors, who are criminals. You have committed crimes against your brothers, your nature, your humanity, the world that you live in. On that day, we can't claim to be Shia. On that day, the answer, the call comes to us is you are Shia of Ahlul Bayt and you are not. This individual is and this individual isn't. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. On that day, don't let the turban fool you. Don't let anything else fool you. On that day, يَوْمَ تُبْلَى السَّرَائِرُ, on that day when your deepest secrets will be revealed. Therefore, let us start here today. Let us start here by preparing ourselves, by being the way that we want our Imam, or the way that our Imam wants us to be. Hence, let's put aside all of this nonsense and all of this desperation for monetary gain. And I'm not saying look poor. I'm not saying don't eat, don't drink, don't drive nice cars, don't have nice things. Have all of that. But everything in moderation. Have your nice car with your nice salat. Have your nice watch with your nice sadaqah. Have your this with this. Equal out. Balance out. Balance out, brothers and sisters. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, I know you cannot be like I am. ولكن أعينوني بورع واجتهاد وعفة وسداد. Assist me. Assist me through piety and perseverance and work, ijtihad, struggle, and through humbleness and through your deeds. The Quran constantly reminds us that this is difficult except for those who are patient and who are prayer and who are steadfast in their prayer.
Mm-hmm.
I ask Allah بحق الحسين الوجيه وجده وأبيه وأمه وأخيه أن يجعلنا من أنصار الحجة ابن الحسن صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. اللهم أنت كما أحب فاجعلني كما تحب يا الله. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم وهب لنا رأفته ورحمته ودعاءه وخيره واجعلنا من أنصاره والمستشهدين بين يديه في زمرة أولياء. وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات وأرواح من مات على الهدى والإيمان. And I ask you, brothers and sisters, to keep me and my parents in your dua, inshallah, and to keep your brothers and sisters in your dua. And I would like to recommend a small thing, at least once a month. It's not difficult. Do ziyarat Ashura and give it as a gift to our Imam Al-Asr wa Zaman. رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة مسبوقة بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Inshallah. So we'll move on with the Kahoots now. Inshallah, Brother Jawad will, there we go. So inshallah, everyone has the devices ready. Quickly, just some quick rules. There will be prizes. So first place, there's going to be, I believe it's Amazon gift cards. So it'll be $30, $20, and $10 for first, second, and third respectively. In order to win the prizes, please have your full name or your first and last name for your Kahoot name. Of course, don't put any inappropriate names, and you can put a nickname too, but it'll be harder to identify you. So if you want to be eligible for the prizes, just first and last name as a part of your name in the Kahoot. Of course, try to be fair. I mean, of course, everyone can quickly search up the questions. I think there might be a delay in YouTube, which is unintentional, of course. But try to answer the questions to the best of your ability. Once this Kahoot is over, you can contact us through Instagram. Just email the name that you used, your first and last name, and just say you were first place, second place, etc. For example, and we'll get that sorted. Yeah, so inshallah we'll get started soon. We'll just give a few minutes if there's still more people joining.
يزهو كأمس غدي جواد الأئمة يا سيدي جواد الأئمة يا سيدي جواد الأئمة يا سيدي أتينا لبابك كي نهتدي
We'll be starting soon, just waiting maybe 2 more minutes. I still see people joining, so please do so quickly.
يقينا بأن الذي يريد الإله بكم يبتدي تحوم الملائك طرا عليه وفودا من الباب للمرقد علمنا يقينا بأن الذي يريد الإله بكم يبتدي تحوم الملائك طرا عليه وفودا من الباب للمرقد وتمسح من
And of course, if you don't manage to make it on, definitely still try to do the questions, or if there's few devices, help each other out, help family members out, for example. And we can get going. Inshallah, let's get it started. 3, 2, 1. First question, what is the name of the ninth holy prophet? So the options are Imam Muhammad Al-Jawad, Imam Ali Al-Hadi, Imam Ali Al-Rida, and Imam Hassan Al-Hadi. Yeah, so I think on the YouTube it might, once again, it might be a little delayed. So just make sure to answer quicker than usual, as quick as you can. We'll move on to the next question shortly. And of course, you do get more points the faster you answer questions too. So what planet has the most moons? Mars, Earth, Jupiter, and Saturn. And so it looks like Jupiter was the answer there. And there's the new leaderboards. At what age did Imam Al-Jawad become an imam? We have 15, 5, 25, and 8. 15, 5, 25, 8. Correct answer is 8. Next question. When Michael Jordan played for the Chicago Bulls, how many NBA championships did he win? 3, 6, 0, or 5? So it looks like I actually don't know this one. It was 6. So it was tied between 6 and 5. 6 was the right answer there. All right. What is your body's largest organ? So we have the heart, the liver, brain, and skin. Skin was the correct answer. And it seems like it's an organ, so that could be a surprise. Next question. What will be the capital city of Imam Al-Mahdi, alayhi salam? Medina, Karbala, Kufa, and Vancouver. Correct answer is Kufa. All right, next question. What is the name of the world's longest river? We have the Nile River, we have our very own Fraser River, the Amazon River, and Congo River. Correct answer, Nile River. Next question. Who is the grandfather of Imam Al-Jawad, alayhi salam? We have Imam Rida, Imam Ali Al-Hadi, and Imam Al-Qadim, as well as Imam Al-Mahdi. Correct answer, Imam Al-Qadim. We've got some streaks going on. Next question, who was behind algebra? There's the responses there. No clue. That could be the name of a very famous mathematician. Khan Academy. Good choice. The correct answer is Ibn Musa. Looks like Rojaib takes the lead here. Next question. What is Newton's third law of motion? We have an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Planets move around in orbits. For every force, there's an equal and opposite reactive force. And a catalyst provides quicker experimental results. Few more seconds here. Nice. For every force, there's an equal and opposite reactive force is the correct answer there. And the next question, what is a common meaning of Jawad? The answer is respectful, generous, the truthful one, the one that guides. What is the common meaning of Jawad? Respectful, generous, truthful one, the one that guides. Okay, my apologies. It looks like there was a big delay there. We'll remember for next time to keep the questions longer. We'll move on to the next one here. When was Imam Al-Jawad born? We'll move on to the next one here. When was Imam Al-Jawad born? The correct answer there, 10th Rajab, 195 AH. Next question. Which surah, if you recite it 3 times, you get the thawab of reciting the whole Holy Quran? And there's the surahs there. Surah Ikhlas, Surah Baqarah, Surah Al-Hamd, and Surah As-Shams. Surah Ikhlas was the correct answer. And Faziz takes the lead once more. We still got the leaderboard showing there. All right, what is a nice thing to do in quarantine? You have spend time with family, video games, leisurely activities, and reading books. Correct answer was all of them. And our last question, who is the best soccer player in the world? Ooh, this is a tough one. This one's, if I remember correctly, there's only one right answer here. But it's, well, we'll find out. Lionel Messi. Ooh, it's gonna be people unhappy about that. Uh-oh. And we'll see the leaderboard here. There it is, third place. We got Sami Nakvi, second place Faziz. And first place goes to Rojabe. So thank you everyone for playing. Once again, apologies for if there were some delays here and there. Inshallah, next time we'll make the questions longer to account for that. And I think that'll be, I do think we will be concluding the program there. Just give me one sec to make sure. And so, yeah, so once again, so for the 3 winners there, just make sure to message our Instagram page. Just do a direct message, say your first and last name, which place you came in, and we'll go there. But I hope it was nonetheless fun for everyone. Just gonna get confirmation here. All right. Yeah. So it looks like that'll be the end of our program tonight. Thank you everyone for joining. Inshallah, it was informative with the educational lecture and discussion by Sheikh Khalid. And I hope that we can implement some of the teachings from there. And I hope everyone has a good night, inshallah. Best regards, and we'll see you in our next program, inshallah. See you, everyone.